Hey everyone, and welcome back to another sit down video. It's been a while. I mentioned what we were going to talk about a couple weeks ago when I was back in the US. I went home to visit my family, and in one of the first vlogs I made while I was there, I was kind of pondering what I always ponder when I go home is that concept of home, and especially with me living in a different country than my parents. I often say I went home for a month before I came home. You know, it's a complex topic, and I think that a lot of people in this community who watch this channel are living abroad or have moved away from home for school or work or things like that. So it's just something that I think we collectively think about a lot, and I'd like to just share some of my thoughts. What we're going to talk about today, we're going to kind of have to go on a journey together to get to, I think, my main point and where I feel like I am now, which is I have a complicated but happy complicated relationship with the concept of home. And so we're going to kind of start with talking about what is home. Is it a physical place? Is it a sensation? Is it a person? But then most importantly would be us moving from home as a physical place, something outside of you, to home being yourself. Being a state of mind, being a very internal thing. And that all comes from building self-confidence, self-respect, and just being very at home in yourself. So one of my favorite quotes that I bring up all the time is from Alan Watts. "You didn't come into this world, you came out of it like a wave from the ocean. You are not a stranger here." Just kidding, everybody. Sorry, my big girl microphone doesn't want to work today, so we're using this one. I just try to keep that mindset with me whenever I am traveling and going to new places, just that I am not a stranger on this earth. And I think that it has kind of helped me have more confidence, and I'm really grateful, but also very proud of myself for the amount of the world that I've been brave enough to go to and interact with, often solo. And it is just such a cycle, because I feel like the more that you interact with the world, the more that you realize it's not a scary, intimidating place, and you can just be more and more confident and be yourself and really see what the world has to offer. And I think that all ties into self-confidence and feeling like you are your own home. So we're gonna dive into all of that in various ways, a lot of tangents upcoming, I apologize. But one of the easiest ways to up your confidence, especially when it comes to traveling or trying to build community, interacting with people around you, expanding your world, I have always found is through learning languages. So I currently live in Korea, and the way that my experience living in this country has changed from the day that I got here and I knew hello, goodbye, thank you, I love you, to now where I can confidently walk into pretty much any situation knowing we can find a way to communicate. It's just such a weight lifted off of your shoulders. And so I actually have a goal for the next couple years. The first language I started learning was Spanish, and I grew up 20 minutes from the Mexican border. So it was a very important language. I grew up around it. And so I was so excited to learn, and I just love the act of learning a language. So I studied Spanish. I also studied French in school. Knowing those languages and just knowing how to pick up a language gave me so much confidence in when I was traveling. Even when we went to other countries where I didn't speak that language, I could figure out the basics and how to easily communicate. And also just learning that you can communicate. I think a language barrier in and of itself is scary until you break it down once and you realize oh, on the other side of that language barrier is a human being. And we both have brains, and we're probably both wishing that we can get through this conversation together. We can get to an understanding. And I think that really rid me of so many fears. And so I cannot thank the sponsor of this video enough, which is Lingoda. Lingoda is an online learning school with live classes with certified native level teachers. And all of these classes, you can get one-on-one classes, but also you can have these really small group classes, which are wonderful. And they have classes literally all the time. So when I was in the US, I had classes that fit easily into my schedule. Now that I'm here in a completely different time zone, I still have access to all of these classes. So it really works for any schedule, whether you're a student, whether you're working, you can fit them in pretty much if you've got a lunch break. And what I personally love, as someone who does have a bit of trauma related to Spanish, my first teacher, whenever you spoke, she would get this look on her face, huh? In my high school. And so I always felt like whenever I opened my mouth to speak Spanish, I was doing something wrong. And I, to this day, even though Spanish is the language I studied the most. I am the most petrified to speak it. Even though I have such wonderful friends who are willing to speak with me, I freeze. And so taking Spanish on Lingoda with these really nice teachers and these really small classes has been actually a healing experience for me.
Ahora yo vivo en Corea. Sí, los Estados Unidos.
But with my anxiety, you can also look at all of the class materials beforehand. You can preview which classes you want to take. You can look at the class materials. They have vocabulary that you're going to be covering so that you can like prepare yourself as much as you need to before going into class. I've taken Spanish classes, but I've also taken French classes on Lingoda. It's very engaging, freeing, healing me of my Spanish trauma. They are currently having an Easter sale for March and April. All the information will be in the description box, but you can use my code right here to get up to 40% off of Lingoda. Please try it out. Highly recommend. Picking up a new language will literally change your life. I cannot stress it enough, but we'll talk about that in more detail at the end. So let's begin. I do want to start off with a disclaimer because I feel like this theme, this topic is so huge and complicated, and I feel like the idea of home is oftentimes for some people the most complicated relationship they have. So I'm not going to really be touching on things like feelings of diaspora, feelings of being unaccepted by your community, like that idea of home and belonging, not in my toolbox to talk about it today. What I'm trying to explore today when it comes to home and belonging is really how can you accept yourself and how that will change the way that you connect with those concepts of home. And so now I will hand it over to James Baldwin. You will go home and then you will find that home is not home anymore. Then you'll really be in trouble. As long as you stay here, you can always think, one day I'll go home. You mean I have a home to go to as long as I don't go there? He laughed. Well, isn't it true? You don't have a home until you leave it. And then when you've left it, you can never go back. So what sort of sparked this whole conversation was when I came back to the US in February and the immigration officer asked me, where's home? And I gave him this complicated answer about how, well, I live in Korea and that's home, but I'm going home to my parents, but technically I'm from Cal. Gave him way too much information. I panicked, okay? But I often catch myself doing that, saying like, oh, it was so fun to be home, but I'm so excited to go home. And I am talking about literally two different sides of planet Earth. And so what James Baldwin in Giovanni's room is saying is you don't really understand that you have a home until you leave it so that you have a home to go back to. But once you go back, you're not the same. When I was a kid, I always dreamed of where I was going to live, where I was going to go. I was not going to be staying in my hometown, even though I loved it. Just wasn't for me. I had an entire world to see. And so I would envision what it would be like to be in these far off places, but I never gave too much thought into what it would be like to leave, and certainly not what it would be like to come back after having been away. There is a Welsh word called hiraeth, which I'm likely mispronouncing, but it's often described as a mixture of like homesickness plus nostalgia. There's no English translation, but it is missing something, whether it is a home, a place, a person, a thing, a concept that you can no longer return to or that no longer exists. It's like a painful nostalgia. And this feeling doesn't happen overnight. There's no like you get off the plane, you open your front door and you realize, I'm not feeling at home anymore. That's not really quite how it happens. And it comes in waves. Like I think when I go home and I hang out with my friends I've known since kindergarten, it does feel like I'm home. And so that's where I kind of want us to start off at looking at home, not as a physical space, because if we think of it as only a physical space, we can never go home. And that's so sad. But thinking of it as a state of mind, as something that is intangible, something that is maybe inside of yourself, I think that's where we really want to end up. Welcome to the video. We're going to dive in. I'm going to move to another location very quickly. And TLDR, home is literally where the heart is. You've got to cultivate that self-confidence and it will expand your world, but it will also keep you so grounded. And I think we'd all be better for it if we just felt at home in our skin. So passing you to a version of me that hopefully has a coffee in her hand. Welcome to the video. And this leads me to two different tangents. So sit with me for a second. I've got notes. So two tangents that are related to this that I don't think I have enough to say quite yet, or I just don't have the ability to talk about it that deeply. Starting with number one, I know that I mentioned I don't really want to dive into like talking about diaspora when it comes to like home and belonging, talking about feelings of diaspora, feelings of being rejected or unaccepted by your community based on insert a plethora of reasons here. But I do just want to bring up something that I think about a lot that really got me thinking about the concept of home, was a book that I read and I reference so often, and I'm so sorry. But it is a book called Small Island by Andrea Levy. It follows quite a few different characters, but two of them are from Jamaica when Jamaica was still under the control of the British Empire. And it was during World War II that a lot of Jamaican men were brought over to fight for Britain, for Mother England, in World War II. And a lot of them, especially our main character, got to England and were sort of like, we were taught that, you know, we're part of this empire, calling it like Mother England, right? The motherland, the mother country. And what happens when you get there and your mother doesn't recognize you? I constantly bring that up because I just found that to be so chilling and very timely. Just if you want to dive into it more, Small Island was just a really wonderful work of historical fiction that I bring up all the time. So I just wanted to add that in. But that sort of leads me into talking about why like it is important to have your home be less of a physical space or less of like something outside of your body, when really you should try your best to feel at home with who you are. But another tangent that's kind of related to that is like, I think very related to myself and what I've been thinking about a lot like these past couple months is what happens when your home feels digital. I grew up without the internet. I really didn't get online until like my last few years of college. And even then I really wasn't on it at all. It genuinely wasn't until I started posting on YouTube that I was like interacting with an online world. So even though I've like cultivated such a wonderful community on this space and like I've met so many of my friends through this, through like the digital world, I still feel, luckily, I think, such a strong connection with the outside world. And I've made a few videos already, obviously, about like brain rot, but I've never been anti-internet. I've never been like, let's all get offline. I've always kind of talked about how we need to, obviously, like my work is online. So many of our jobs, our lives are online. Like we need to just learn how to exist in a digital space in a healthy way. And I found that especially last month when, again, I like really started musing about the idea of home, I was really offline because I was just with my parents. I kind of reverted back to my teenage self, which was a self that wasn't online. And one thing that really got to me was that the internet kind of tricks you into thinking it makes the world bigger. And in a sense, it does. Like, let's say that you are feeling rejected or unaccepted in your physical space. Like you're living in small town Tennessee, I don't know. And your way of life, your hobbies, whatever it is, you are an outsider, you feel rejected. You can find a space that accepts you and reflects the world that you wish you lived in online. Absolutely. So in that sense, it can expand worlds, but I think it also kind of traps you in, yes, technically the internet is endless and you can find literally anything on there, but there are times when it makes your world feel so small. For example, I'm in the book community. And when there is an issue happening in the book community, it can feel like everyone knows about this. Everyone's talking about this. Everyone's angry about this. You know, everyone thinks this way about this thing. And then when you get offline and you talk to someone, like almost all of my friends who live in the US are like not online at all. If I were to talk to them or like talk to my parents or talk to, you know, people at bookstores, things like that who aren't online, they have never heard of this thing. They do not think, if you tell them about it, they do not have the same opinion that the majority online has. They don't think it's a big deal. They don't get it. You can kind of trick yourself into thinking that something huge is going on and it feels like it's consuming your whole world, when in reality, this world, the physical world that we're in, is so huge And a lot of people have never even heard of the things that you're talking about. And I have some references. Again, this is something like I need to untangle so many thoughts that I have about this. So if this sounds like I'm bouncing all over the place, it's because I am. I want to dig into this deeper, but I'm like not even sure where to start. And one thing that was really interesting, this is a video by Josephine, who I will reference again in this video because I could listen to her talk all day long. And she started talking about algorithms and how easy it is to get into a bubble, because on Earth, you know, you can kind of try to curate where you go, what you do, what you see, but people are going to disrupt that. But online, especially with the platforms that we're all using, like if it's TikTok or Instagram or YouTube, it's going to feed you things that you want to see. So we end up living in these very small, highly curated, often echo chamber-y places. And if that echo chamber suddenly doesn't feel welcoming to you anymore, it feels like your whole world and you feel lost or betrayed.
It's interesting because when I say go on YouTube and I watch the videos I watch, I glance over at my husband's screen and he has a completely different algorithm to what I have. Videos that I would never ever see come up on my homepage. And I just cannot believe that we are so close as people, yet because of our demographic, we are fed completely different, altering worldviews. He might see what he sees and take that to be what everyone would see, and equally I will do the same.
I'll also insert a little piece about conformity that she talks about, and how because of how we're existing in this like very curated space because of algorithms, we are pressured more to conform and kind of erase ourselves. Like ironically, we found these places because of our interests and our likes and who we are. Then we slowly start to like dilute ourselves so that we are agreeing with the majority within that group.
People who have experienced a lot of groups, who perhaps have observed their own behavior, may agree that the hardest thing in the world is to stand out against one's group, a group of one's peers. Many agree that among our most shameful memories is this: how often we said black was white because other people were saying it. And that's not to say that they are wholly a negative thing. Being in community is very important for us as humans and feeling connected, but it's within these communities not always just going with the herd. Being connected in these communities, but all having our own voices and opinions that we're able to bring safely to one another.
I actually talked about it on a video I made for my book channel, talking about like how negative reviews and any kind of negativity is really frowned upon in certain circles, not all, but certain circles in the book community. I think that like that's kind of the internet as a whole, of how we're discouraged from being disagreeable. So we end up like kind of softening all of our edges and being a less authentic version of ourselves. I'm sorry, there are so many sirens going on right now. I thought this was going to be a quiet morning. But yeah, I think we end up kind of softening our edges, as I said, and ironically being less ourselves. I'm going to talk about it more in the next section in terms of like self-respect and self-love and not needing external validation. Spoiler, it's a Josephine reference. That's a beautiful bird. What are you? Hold on. Yeah, you're so pretty. There were two of you. I don't know where your friend went. Okay, bye. So fluffy. Okay, anyway, if anyone wants to identify that bird. See? Offline life, isn't it great? And what I'm really trying to get at, and I'm going to read this so that I stop rambling, we need to, at our core, feel at home somewhere else, somewhere less tangible, somewhere more permanent, somewhere more under our control, less swayed by the powers of others. So that leads me into the idea of building our self-confidence, building our home within ourselves. And I'm going to go drink my coffee and head inside because it's getting a little noisy, and we'll continue our chat in the quiet safety of my home. Ah, see? Home. God. Okay, bye. Welcome home. If I'm blushing, I just finished a Lingota class. Okay, talking about being at home in yourself. Again, just a reminder of my favorite Alan Watts quote. You did not come into this world, you came out of it like a wave from the ocean. You are not a stranger here. We are all we're meant to be here. This is our home. Everyone has equal right to exist here. I think I got kind of lucky in a sense that I'm an only child. And so since I was little, I've had to do a lot of things by myself. You know, I had to be like my own playmate. I lived a lot in my head, never found it to be super weird to do things by myself because I had to. I only realized it was kind of a weird thing when other people expressed that they were nervous about that. Like I dealt with being shy, and I definitely still like sometimes would get anxious being by myself, but like the anxiety came from realizing that other people didn't think it was normal to be alone and wondering what they thought of me. And I already have a bunch of videos about this. Like this is one of my main passions in life, is just encouraging people to solo travel, especially. But if you're not ready to make that step, taking yourself out to eat, like really spending quality time with yourself. I'll link a video down below about it, but it's just something that teaches you so much about yourself and what you're capable of, like how much you can rely on yourself. I just have a lot of faith in myself in terms of like, if I go somewhere and something goes wrong, if like my flight is canceled, if I get lost, whatever, I know that I will survive. I know that I can figure out a way to get myself out of that situation. That again, like to bring up language study, I really think that even if fluency isn't your goal, learning the lesson of you can communicate with people. There is a way, like even if there is a language barrier, sometimes like when you've never faced that kind of barrier before, it seems really scared, like how can I communicate with you? But once you sort of put yourself in that really vulnerable situation of learning a language for the first time and, you know, stuttering and grasping for words as you're trying to communicate, you realize that most other human beings, regardless of their language, are empathetic and also don't like awkward interactions, and they will find a way to help you and communicate. I feel like it's something that you don't grasp until you've experienced it before, but really like being by yourself, realizing how strong you are and how much you by yourself can accomplish. It's just such a powerful thing. And I feel like I feel so at home in myself. Like if I go somewhere new and I'm scared or something, I still feel comforted because I'm with me. It's just so important. I could talk about this clearly not well, but I just want to talk about it all the time because I grew up with actually all of my friends now are very, very independent. But I remember like in middle school, I had some friends that could not do things by themselves, and seeing them eventually grow up to be independent, it was just so amazing to see like the change was like physical. You could see it on them. That confidence in themselves. You feel so much more at home wherever you are because you are your anchor in this world, if that makes sense. It doesn't make sense. I'm so sorry. I'm going to link another Josephine video down below. She's talking about creating an inner life.
So much of what we consume is reductive and generalized. It tries to explain how we feel while knowing nothing about us, finding problems where there are none, and offering solutions to problems that were invented in the first place. The mind sometimes needs to wrestle with things on its own. It's about allowing yourself the space of genuine self-reflection and solitude.
This is going to sound conceited, I don't know, but like I love the world that's in my head. I am in constant conversation with myself. I love being in my head. I love observing things, and I love the things that I pick up, and having that rich inner world is just such a blessing. So I will link that down below as well. And I want to share this quote from Mary Oliver because it wouldn't be a video like this without a Mary Oliver quote that says, "In the beginning, I was so young and such a stranger to myself, I hardly existed. I had to go out into the world and see it and hear it and react to it before I knew at all who I was, what I wanted to be." I'm just forever grateful that I get to go through the world with myself, and it really, really teaches me, like further solidifies who I am. And I really think that like, if not every year, I feel like every day sometimes I have grown and changed as a person. And I feel like times when I am stuck inside and not giving myself these life experiences, I really feel stagnant in terms of just self-growth and self-expansion. And along with Mary Oliver, a video like this also wouldn't be complete without me mentioning the podcast Wild Geese, who I adore. And this actually, weirdly, I was working on this script, and just 2 days ago, right before I started filming, she posted a video about being your own muse. And I will link like specifically around the 5-minute mark. She's talking about how self-respect is different from self-love, and I found that to be fascinating.
It's called They Convinced You to Love Yourself So You'd Forget to Respect Yourself by Zara on Substack. Zara says self-love encourages a self-acceptance without challenge or accountability, while self-respect demands integrity, discipline, and most importantly, a steadfast alignment with one's values. If your worldview is one of higher purpose and one that acknowledges the reality that struggle is a condition of life, feeling good is peripheral. What becomes central is dignity, self-confidence, resilience, and an ability to rely on yourself. Unlike self-love, which has few, if any, conditions and can drift into narcissism or self-indulgence, self-respect demands a lot from us.
And another thing about being more comfortable with yourself and having that self-respect, self-confidence, faith in yourself, everything. Another Josephine video. I'm so sorry. I was just binging her recently, talking about the fear of being misunderstood and needing outside approval. And I love this quote where she's talking about how you are your own witness.
I would say that being misunderstood is a natural part of life because we are complex. Both the person misunderstanding you and yourself as the one being misunderstood.
Another Mary Oliver quote is, "And who will care? Who will chide you if you wander away from wherever you are to look for your soul?" I feel like I've heard in the comments, in my comment section, some people talking about how like their family or their friends really don't understand when they want to do things alone, or they judge them harshly. Respectfully, that's their journey that they're deciding not to take. I feel like people, like if I'm at a restaurant sitting alone and somebody else is looking at me thinking, oh my God, how sad. To me, the person who's thinking that is clearly not someone who is comfortable being by themselves. They can't understand it if they think, oh my God, how sad she is eating by herself. Meanwhile, I'm tucking into my slice of cake all by myself, having the best time. That doesn't affect me. That's them. And if any of you guys are like, I don't even know who I am, I don't even know where to start. If you go for a walk by yourself and it's just like empty brain, I found this Substack, things that I do when I'm losing myself. And one thing that really hit me from this article is, and again, this like connection with yourself sometimes can ebb and flow, right? When you suddenly are in a funk, you feel like you really aren't yourself anymore. In this Substack, she says, you've trained yourself to function through it, through the kind of burnout, to look high functioning even when your inner world is falling through the floor. This is the version of me that forgets to listen to music. And she continues to list things she forgets to do, but the version of me that forgets to listen to music. Oh my God. I was on the bus, I was in between books. I didn't want to listen to a podcast. I put my headphones in and I put on an old playlist, like a 90s playlist. I forgot what it was like to feel alive. All I want is you. Come over here, baby. Christina Aguilera came through my ears and I was like, oh my God, I've been asleep at the wheel. It's so easy to disconnect from the things that you love and you just kind of need to shock your body back into it. So I will link that down below. If you're feeling out of sorts, if you're feeling like usually you are a very self-confident, self-assured person, you feel like you know who you are, but something just isn't sitting, whether you are burned out or you've doom scrolled too much or whatever, take a look at this list and go listen to Come On Over Baby, because and my very final point. So we kind of started with home as your physical space, wherever you were born and raised, to it being more of a concept, it being more of yourself, the self-reliance, to then being you are not an island. Knowing yourself is so wonderful. Relying on yourself, the biggest life skill you can have, I think. But once you've got that, once you know who you are, you have to put that back in the pot. And we need to be a part of a community. And I think that that's really where I think we're seeing the shift. I know we're seeing the shift. I feel like especially during the pandemic, a lot of us were forced to be okay with ourselves, be independent, be socially distant, and really become our own best friend. And that's incredible. Now we need to go back and build those communities. We need to be a part of this big, crazy, wonderful world that has shaped us, that has formed us, right? The thing that we came out of, like a wave comes from the ocean. I'm going to leave you with this tonight. The best thing you can do for yourself is actively increase your surface area for luck to hit you. Go outside, travel more, go to new cafes, museums, events. Take your notebook, speak to people, ask questions. You can literally just do things. And the more you do, the more serendipity and synchronicity will find you. Being outside, literally going to sit in a cafe or sit in a park and read, that's just step one. Like being able to make eye contact with another human is just step one. Then you need to bring that wonderful wealth of self-confidence that you have, everything that you know that you have that you can bring to the table, bring it to the table. And we need to start finding community. And the thing is, it's awkward and yucky. I think being confident in yourself takes a lot of work. Being confident enough to share yourself with others is a whole nother ball game. It takes time. It will likely take even more time to be comfortable with that than it did to build your own self-confidence, but it's so worth it and it's so necessary. A rabbit hole you can go down, which this video is already way too long, but related to building community is the concept of the postponed self and how you might be holding yourself back from living so much more life because you don't believe you're ready or you don't believe that you will be accepted or things like that. I went through about maybe like a 5, if not more, 6-year period of my life where I actively did not make friends. I did not try to build any new community, any new relationships because I felt like I didn't deserve it. And those were like horrible times. Surprise. horrible times. And it's just been it's been in the past like 3 years that I've actively bounced back from that and tried, like forgiven myself and tried to make friends and tried to build a community and tried to give the best parts of myself back. And all of that, giving my best parts out, has come back to me tenfold. Like the people who are in my life now, joy that they bring, the opportunities that I've gotten, the people I've been able to meet. I'm very comfortable being alone back then, and I felt like I didn't need anyone, that making friends would only bring pain. I was really wrong. I was really, really wrong. I'm going to leave you with a few resources in terms of building community. Number 1, being Wild Geese once again, talking about how to be a better villager. We all want a village. Being a villager is very difficult. So thinking of how you can share these best bits of yourself. If you have not read Braiding Sweetgrass yet, do so. But if you don't have time, read chapter 5. But if you don't have time, there is also a continuation of my favorite chapter from that book. The author wrote another book called The Serviceberry, which really dives into my favorite section of the book, which was the idea of gift giving and how that is an essential part of community. And it's not something that you're giving something in order to be reciprocated, but reciprocation happens naturally. Like it's gift giving and being a part of a community is such a cycle. And the way that she talks about it is just life-changing. At the end of the day, it's important to be at home with yourself, but then open that home up to others. I don't know. I think that we're all so unique and have such incredible gifts that we can share, not only with ourselves, but with others. And to not do that is such a waste. And I'm so excited to see so many people now actively searching for a community. Like I mostly see it in the book world, but like the amount of book clubs that have been formed and people just looking for events and ways to connect with people is just the most beautiful thing. And so yeah, this was so discombobulated. I just really think that me being comfortable in myself made me more comfortable in the world at large and just expanded everything. This world is so big and I don't feel on my best days, I don't feel too intimidated to go out and interact with it. Obviously we have our bad days, but I want people to get to know themselves so that you're never lonely and that you aren't feeling lost or, does that make any sense? That was a ramble and a half. I hope you made some sense of it or got something out of it. If not, just watch the resources down below. Also linked down below is my link for Lingoda. You can use my code CARI40. They are currently having an Easter sale. The dates are right here, so definitely you can save up to 40% off of Lingoda using CARI40. Please check it out. Expand your world with language. It's proven that language affects how we think and see the world, just by like different grammar structures, different words that aren't translatable in our native language. So you also like unlock bits of your personality as well. Like maybe you're funnier in a language. In Korean, I find specifically because of the different grammar forms, I end up like looking at situations differently when I'm speaking in Korean or when I'm thinking in Korean. It's just like language is the wildest, most wonderful thing you can gift to yourself. And using Lingoda, having real life people teach you in a small, welcoming setting is a wonderful place to start. So all that will be linked down below as well. And yeah, just let me know your thoughts. Is there anything you're struggling with in terms of doing things by yourself and feeling at home in yourself? Or did I get it totally wrong? And home is a 4-walled building and a roof over your head, you know? I'd love to hear from you. Maybe next time I will pick a topic that is a little bit easier, something I'm not still chewing on. But anyway, thank you as always for being here, and I'll see you guys next time. Okay, I'm back in Korea, so cherry blossoms are next. Spring is right around the corner. Actually, I might open my window because it's kind of hot in here. So see you then. Welcome back, and thank you always.